I was told I need to be louder, so loud as I can be. Maybe not that loud, I'm peeking a bit. Woo! Hopefully the audio is better tonight. Let's play my Destinies in Tennessee. What? The very best, you gotta travel across the land. But I'm happy here at pretty good. Just out walking with my friends. So you can fly from coast to coast for all antics events. But my destiny's here in Tennessee, my Pokédex in hand. You run your laps chasing licky tongues in Providence, and you arc your throws for Electabuzz in St. Louis. But when you're lost in Boston seeking Pokestops, boo-hoo, we'll all still be spinning them up on Rocky Top. It's true. Well, you can race to catch 'em all and fall flat on your face. We'll hatch our Togepi's here in Tennessee at our own predestined pace. We don't need Tanglers from Los Angeles. If you're there chasing Charizard, you're making your life way too hard. Clutching garlic, pounding pavement down Ventura Boulevard. We don't need Nidoqueens from down New Orleans. I hate to rain on solo you, but parades need a willing crew. All those Squirtles on St. Charles saw you wandering and withdrew. Well, you can race to catch 'em all and fall flat on your face. We'll hatch our Togepi's here in Tennessee at our own predestined pace. We don't need Lapras from Minneapolis or Polipers from Mississippers. There's enough Weedles on Montego. We could evolve a swarm of Beedrill. There's enough Snubble down the shovel. We could team sled with Grumble. We don't need Oregon from out in Oregon or any Pikachus from up in Massachusetts. Sorry, Professor Oklahoma, we'll raid gyms in Tullahoma. Sorry, Pokecoin Palooka, we'll hatch on hikes in Chattanooga. Well, you can race to catch 'em all and fall flat on your face. We'll hatch our Togepi's here in Tennessee at our own predestined pace. Well, you can race to catch 'em all and fall flat on your face. We'll hatch our Togepi's here in Tennessee at our own predestined pace.
Summer is past, but your days keep growing longer. There's no wind in your sails, but the storm's blowing stronger. Walking hard, standing tall, keeping your head up through it all. Fighting fires, spinning plates. Goodness, how it gets so late. Lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and just let your mind float downstream. Sprawled out in a moonbeam. Lay your head down and dream. Joe Hills is filmed before a live streaming audience.
That's us. Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. And tonight, y'all are my live streaming audience. We got some very kind messages and some interesting questions in the chat already. Welcome to everyone watching in the YouTube chat. We've got Typical Human, Laura, Morgan, Strawberry Mango, Mind of Me, Moon Roses, NPK, Ferretaria, Nymph, Golden Tetrapod, Niconic Anemone. We've got Alexis. We've got Emily. We've got Nutmeg Soup and a dog and Nola, Triforce 2, Scott Euler, Friendless Photon, Triforce. Anyway, meanwhile, in the Discord, let's see who we got. We got NJ Coffee Junkie, we got Nola, and we got Dottie Matrix. Welcome, one and all. Okay, Mahi Zero and Technologic, woo! Glad to see y'all. I am feeling very happy about how that episode came out. We got some very kind comments on the in the YouTube. Nola left a nice comment in the chat right now, who says that poem on today's episode was so fantastic, I was transported. Thank you, Nola. Now, Mind of Me makes an interesting point. Mind of Me says, I did wish you included that footage of you updating the map, just going from the gray hole to green. I'm saving that because I realized we're gonna have possibly a talk with Doc at some point this week. Not we, like the Buttercups and I, because the Buttercups don't exist anymore. They're done. What's next for the Buttercups? Nothing. Buttercups are finished. They're done. But I'm not. I'm still here to remind you of the dragon you left when you went away. It's up there in the sky. You ought to know. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna have a talk with Doc in a future episode, and I wanted to save that footage for when we have that conversation. Like, thinking about how, like, people do, like, animated like, when people do, like, animatics of the Hermits, like, if Aviva did an animatic of that conversation, there would be a point where Doc is talking, and, like, there'd be, like, a thought bubble coming out of my head that, like, shows that, you know? And I was like, that is such a great clip, but we're not directly talking about it this episode, so I decided to save it. I'm gonna use it, but I'm very excited about it. Kindle says, I just drove 6.5 hours today and then watched your episode. I don't remember anything about it other than the poetry. I really liked the poem. The only person who did not like the poem was my daughter, who we started watching it, and she's like, Dad, this poem is too long. Poetry is supposed to be short. That's the point of it. And I was just like, ugh. Okay. But what I'm thinking, though, is, so we have to have a talk with Doc, but we also need to talk about the visit to the Children's Hospital. And in some ways, there's a unity of theme here, because the Hermits all coming together to create something beautiful, talking about the hospital visit to see the go-karts from Gamers Outreach and the big fundraiser, and talking about the hermits all coming together and having great fun and conversation, and Iskal coming back and all these things. This is how you make an episode, is you find things that are thematically linked and you piece them together. I've also got some mini game stuff. Like I played TCG with Corrales, and I had a recording with XP Crafted. He's already published his side of it, but I need to show my mini game attempt there too. There's something like, and you might be like, wow, I didn't see all the hermits at the perimeter. What were Corrales and XB up to? Well, here we go, blah, blah, blah. We can cut away to that for a little bit as a counterpoint. Like, the hermits do cool things on their own, but then they also do cool things together. I don't know. So but, like, honestly, I have no idea. Like, I have not talked to Doc privately, but he's made it clear in public that he's probably going to have a confrontation with each of us to some degree or another. And I'm probably going to present him with the book and that sort of thing from the poem, from this episode. We'll see how that goes. Aloysius Martin says, do you expect Doc to take revenge on those in the perimeter? I'm not sure. He can't not respond. I'm going to say that. But, like, revenge is a very specific type of response. And I'm not sure if he'll take revenge on everyone. I'll say that, too. There might be some people that get revenged. But, it could go a lot of ways. Do these stack? No. Dang it, of course not. I wanted to make a copy of this book. So I would have a copy of this book. Copy of a copy of original. So I want to give him the copy of original. I'm going to put that in my... I should probably keep it in my inventory in case I run into Doc at some point. So I just have it on me. But we'll put the backups away in, like, my wallet here. Backups. We don't really need an anvil in there. Kindle says you can take the opportunist approach and see if you can convince Doc you can fix it with redstone. One thing I was thinking of doing was carrying around the materials required to build his first house on Mindcrack. And so if he confronted me, like while we were around somewhere, we could fly to the perimeter and like I could just start rebuilding his first house from Mindcrack out of just like a shulker of the parts in front of him. Be like, Doc, isn't it nice to go back to nature? Look, remember the simpler, better days? Like, the thing is though, while we were building this, we had about like 8 to 10 hours of like rolling voice call with different people popping in and out. While we were doing all of that, one of the continuous topics of conversation was people brainstorming different ways you could use redstone to fix this very quickly. It would be insulting to Doc to assume that this would be hard for him to fix. We thought of a bunch of quick and easy, cheap ways to fix it with flying machines and TNT dupers and stuff like that. That wouldn't break anything important of his. So, it's not like I said, I've seen people comment like pranks aren't funny if they're hard to clean up. Like, Mumbo, at least, has a really firm grasp of what is and isn't possible with redstone. And there was a lot of conversation about how easy to clean up this would be for somebody who has a Doc's level of skill. So, it looks like this is impossible to clean up. It looks hard to clean up, but I think he'll be okay. We have no idea what solution he'll actually come up with. I'm sure it'll be spectacular in ways we can't predict, but... ooh, somebody left something here. Is this a message from Doc, like a warning? Don't move this vital and beloved horse head past me. Is this a time traveler message? Okay. Aloysius says you should build the Minecraft base before he comes back. No, I think it has to be done in front of him. I think it has to be done in front of him. Like, that's just my gut. But, yeah, so is this a warning from Doc, or is this just something weird? And the other thing we all agreed on was, even if Doc decided he didn't want to bother with the redstone to fix it, he could just hire Pearl to do it. And then she could hire Mumbo to build a redstone machine to fix it. So, yeah, it looks like it was B-dubs. But I'm glad people are coming over here and checking this out. Like, you know. It's not like we reset the chunks, you know? Like, it's very fixable. Okay, so one thing I did do was I went back and I looked at a bunch of pictures. What I realized is there's actually, even though this pinball machine is relatively accurate, there is one major source of inaccuracy in its construction. And the math, I kind of fudged the math on one thing. And the one thing I fudged the math on is now causing a weird problem with the size of the playfield. And you're going to say, Joe, was it the dimensions of the machine? Because it's not really exactly twice blah, blah, blah. It's like, the real machine is 26 inches wide and 52 inches deep. It's 2 to 1. It's okay. The maps being 2 maps to 1 map, that works fine. No, the problem is that the machine should be leaning slightly forward. Like, the front wall of the machine should be on a slight diagonal toward the player, and so should the back wall of the machine. The back box should actually be forward, like, every 17 or 20 blocks, it should come 1 block forward. It's not steep. But, like, this whole back wall here, you see how we've got, like, a straight vertical line? We got a vertical line here. This should actually be coming at a slight angle forward. And so that's why we're running into this weird issue with the playfield. Because somebody had pointed out, hey, the playfield probably shouldn't push that much into the conduit space. And, like, in reality, if it did, it would be okay-ish, because the conduits would be routed along the back anyway. But the thing is that the top of this here would actually be, like, slightly forward. Everything would be, like, angled a little bit more. And, so there is, basically it ends up being kind of weird. So we are going to actually have to reduce the playfield in size a little bit. And part of me doesn't want to do that tonight. But if I don't do it sooner than later, then it's going to hold everything up. But yeah, so I was correct that it was too short in the first place. But then I overcorrected on fixing it because of the way that we've got the tilt being, like, basically the front of the playfield should have been leaning forward. Like, if the top of this was 6 blocks further out to sea here, then the front of the playfield would be hanging further forward too, and then the playfield could be the right length without pushing so far back that way. So we're going to kind of split the difference. You know, that's the sort of thing, you know, it can't be perfect, but it shouldn't be this wrong either. And that's okay. We learn by doing. Okay. So, let's grab some blocks. And actually, let's also put some other blocks away. We're going to use this box here. I'm going to put a bunch of stuff away for the time being. Extra books can go in one of the book boxes. Do any of these have room? That has some space. Book boxes. Boxing up all of the books. Book boxes. Burr, burr, burr. Actually, I also want to put... that's the wrong one. 21 roll or one more. Let's put the extra feathers and stuff in there. Boom. Book boxes! Cody Burns says, have you actually tested this yet? It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. Lost Cult Music says, caught your video. Great job. Thank you. I'm very pleased with how the episode came out. There were a few things that I wanted to do that I realized I didn't set up right in replay mod, and trying to do them at this point would be problematic. So, for example, I realized, like, okay, so when you read a book in Minecraft, right? You see how there's, like, all this stuff? My mouse is, like, showing, like, the background here. Well, I realized what I could do is I could put a mask around the book itself and then show other Minecraft footage behind it, right? Because I realized if you don't show the words of the poem in the book, it loses part of the, like, Minecraftiness. You need that. But, like, if instead of showing the museum and Cub listening to me, I put in the images of, like, Biffa's bowl and the perimeter and stuff, I thought that might be cool. But I realized a few things. One, I kind of needed Cub looking at me with the telescope to work for one of the bits. So Cub was doing stuff in the background that I didn't want to cover. Also, I realized that a lot of the stuff I had set up in replay mod, the points of interest were directly in the center and would have been covered by the book. And so then I would have to reshoot it so that the points of interest were in the outer thirds. And, like, I'm trying to get on an episode once a week. Morning Blossom says, Iso did that sometimes. He would put the book to the side so it wouldn't cover the video footage. Oh, that's smart. See, that didn't occur to me. But you basically, I was kind of looking at it. I'm like, I was trying to get this episode out a week ago. And then I didn't expect the perimeter thing to take as long as it did. And all this other stuff ate a bunch of time. And then, so basically I was like, I'm not pushing this another day so I can get this replay mod stuff behind the book. We're just, that's really smart though, Morning Blossom, moving the book. Literally just didn't occur to me. Because once I've masked it, I can move it anywhere and in front of the footage, and it would just, that's very smart. I did not realize that. Jason Smith says, we know from DocSign now that target blocks can be activated by player impact. Yeah, we might be able to experiment with that a little bit. Okay, so let's look at this. If we look up here at this point, so this is actually about where we should cut it off. Let me verify. Which ones of these are bigger? The square one's slightly bigger. Okay. So if that's the case, then I think we actually want to go over one more here. Because technically the wall that would block you from seeing the conduit cables would lean slightly forward. Nothing else in the pinball machine leans forward, but we can lean that part forward and kind of cheat it a little bit. So in terms of like splitting the difference, so that can lean forward and hit that eventually. It almost doesn't like seem worth doing if we're only moving this up a few blocks here, but it will make a big difference for the Elytra course's playability at the end of the day. So I feel like I really need to come at least this far forward. So we're gonna remove a bunch of this stuff. Basically everything beyond this line of torches is getting pulled out. But yeah. It's fine. So that also means then we need to go Let's go grab new Birch here. Syriac says, also chiming in, lovely poem and great episode. Thank you. Okay. Hey, Nola, I'm glad that your crafting and quilting is going well. It always pleases me when folks enjoy my stream at the end of a long day at work or school or whatever, and they relax in whatever way they like best. Some people like to make quilts. Some people like to draw or play games. Some people are still working or are, you know, getting the chores done. You know, I'm happy to help in whatever way I can there, too. Okay, so we're basically actually going to be bringing this up to here. Whoa. Off to a great start. Just fantastic. Honestly, of all of the things I've had to rework in the machine so far, or not in the machine, like all of the things I've had to rework on mega builds and stuff, like this is like one of the most minor, I'm not even going to sweat it type of things. Like compared to moving the walls on Castle Hohenzollern, this is easy. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Scar joined the game. Howdy, Scar. I probably shouldn't bother him about this by surprise. Yeah, I'll come back to that. I was gonna message him like later tonight about doing this later this week. But I wanna record something where we do something kind of grindy together, and I can talk about the hospital visit and the gamers outreach stuff, because Scar really took point on that. This is that sort of grindy thing. So if he just wanders over here on his own, I'll just start recording. But I know he's got big Scarland plans. He's got a bunch of different lands he hasn't even built yet. He's working on the main park, trying to get the main park area open. And then I don't know if he said publicly like the other areas of Scarland that he's going to be working on for the next few months, but like it's really cool stuff. So, and he took a huge break from it to do that perimeter thing. So I don't want to slow him down any further. Ender Ninja says it's interesting that books can be scarier than movies. I really think that depends on kind of your personal imagination. Because, like, and I'm not saying, oh, unimaginative people aren't scared of books. But, like, I find that, like, when I'm reading a book, even if it's a frightening book, I'm usually, my brain's interpreting it in a way that, like, is making it safe or comfortable to me. Like, whereas with, like, a movie, the director and the set designer and the costume and the actors and all that goes into it's not that it's scarier because it's more visual. It's scarier because someone else is doing the visualization. And like but I mean, I guess it really depends on the work too. Like, not everything that's a movie is going to be scarier than the book to me. But like, I don't know. Oh my gosh. That actually reminds me. I was going to say, you know, it's kind of like there's certain things that I really get annoyed at in movies and TV shows, but I don't get quite as annoyed at them in books because my brain interprets them more charitably. And then I realized I actually went off on a huge rant on Tumblr earlier today about this. I was thinking about this last night while I was working in replay mod. I was listening to a book on tape and thinking about the book on tape while doing the replay mod stuff. And so there's a series of novels called the Foundation novels by Isaac Asimov. And like, so I had like a tweet summary of this last night, and then I wrote this huge Tumblr thing rant this morning. But yeah, like Isaac Asimov is just like, the first 5 books of my Foundation series tell how one mathematician became a legend by predicting societal forces at galactic scales. And then like also Isaac Asimov, so for the 6th book, it'll be a prequel about him being dunked on for just months straight for not knowing the liberal arts, like, at all. He gets owned so badly by experts in other fields that he repeatedly nearly dies. I'm going to open each chapter with an excerpt from an encyclopedia written 10,000 years later that makes this period of Harry Seldon's life sound historically important and mysterious because the details were lost. But then the actual novel, the story is about how this moron doesn't know the word religious, or how to use an oven, or even a clock. This novel will stress out the same types of readers who are bothered by It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because if Craig Mazin, Charlie Day, and Megan Gans wrote an episode called Dennis Invents Psychohistory, that work would be functionally identical to this novel. To all but the shrewdest of branch managers of a regional paper company. Now, while this novel is a prequel, it will advance readers' understanding of the Foundation setting, as ineffective Trantorian leadership trip over themselves trying to capture Selden while he continuously fails upward, like Bill Murray in the film The Man Who Knew Too Little, so preposterously and frequently that it will become inescapably thematically clear that his Foundation can only inevitably do the same. I expect this to be a great comfort to readers. And I'm over there, and I'm just like, oh, that was a choice. It's like Don Quixote. Like, I'm off script now. Like, but like it's almost like Don Quixote, if Don Quixote was like Doc Martin from the show Doc Martin, and all he wanted to do was like sit at home and think about things quietly, and everyone else is like, oh my gosh, you're the most influential person in the galaxy. This thing that you're developing is so important. You need to constantly go into hiding and be chased by spies. And he's just like, I don't think I need to do that. It's like, you know, there's like Joseph Campbell's call to adventure and then the refusal of the call. Like, most of the novel is just him refusing the call while, like, not understanding how different cultures work or, like, what any other field of study outside mathematics means. And Nymph says, oh yeah, what happened to Don Quixote? Is there a reason it wasn't good material for streaming? Oh, this actually ties back into the Jaws novel. So Don Quixote, the novel, is actually written to some degree like Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness. Like, it's a parody of these heroic exploit stories. And so as a result, it's actually written to be incredibly graphically violent. Like, way like the depictions of the violence as described by the narrator are cartoonishly horror movie impossible. But like, as I'm reading them aloud, I'm like, this is too violent for the stream. Like, I'm gonna get a... This is like probably against the terms of service. Like, this is too much. So yeah, that's why we stopped reading Don Quixote, because like a lot of the humor actually comes from it being like intensely comedically graphically violent. And it's not like, oh, this is too scary for me personally, but I'm like reading it and I'm like constantly distracted, like, is this across the line? Am I gonna get am I gonna lose my Twitch account? Like, oh boy, maybe this is not a good thing to read on stream. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying not to talk about struck work. It's difficult to discuss like media literacy and concepts without referring to work. That's not necessarily the same as promoting the work, but yeah, I should be trying to avoid that. Welcome, Screeching Newt. Okay. Dun 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 dun. La da da da. Da da da. Are we completely out of jungle logs? Do we have what the kids call 2 problems? We're not completely out of jungle logs. Yeah, work impacted by the writer's strike. Some Hollywood companies have been trying to pay YouTubers to promote films because the striking actors and writers are not making their normal rounds promoting those movies and TV shows. And so the union has asked YouTubers and streamers and stuff to not promote films for the duration of the strike, because that would be scabbing by filling in for the writers who would be doing that. They have not asked for a general boycott of films, and that's nothing saying that, like, y'all shouldn't go see movies and talk about them with your friends, but because of my position in solidarity with the striking artists, I am choosing not to promote films or television shows at this time. And I'd prefer that people not bring them up in the chat, because then it makes it hard for me to engage in discussion with the chat. Once again, that doesn't mean that you all shouldn't talk about this stuff in your own time with your friends, but, you know, it's just, it puts me in an awkward place if y'all are having a conversation I can't have. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Yeah, that's also one of the reasons I kind of put trying to get a pinball sponsorship on hold, because a lot of pinball machine themes are derived from film media these days. And so that would be exactly the sort of thing that would, like, be crossing a line much more clearly than, like, just mentioning a movie. Like, if I was getting paid to play a pinball machine with a movie character on the front, you know, that would be not cool. So. Yeah. No, I know that you're typical human. I was just clarifying because somebody else asked about it. Morning Blossom says, do you have a book lined up you like to read on stream next? I'm strongly considering King Lear, because I'm going to see King Lear in October in Canada at their Stratford Theatre. And Paul Gross is going to be playing Lear, and he's a very talented actor who I've admired for many years, so that would be really fantastic to kind of refamiliarize myself with the story and the characters and stuff in advance of the thing. But honestly, organizing a Saturday night reading of Shakespeare in some ways is harder than organizing a reading of a book, and time is finite. Like, stuff like that goes in the queue, but like when I start thinking about stuff like that too hard, I have to ask myself, like, have I finished an episode yet this week? Right? If not, maybe we come back to it, you know? Yeah, Shakespeare in the Park often will do weird mashups of Shakespeare and other more recognizable media. It can be a lot of fun. I forget. I saw one Shakespeare play, Shakespeare in the Park, where but it was basically shot like, or not shot. It was staged and costumed, like all the sets and the costumes and stuff were like Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville type of like Florida Keys aesthetic. Like they're all beach bums, you know, that sort of thing. Oh. You know, everybody's got the floral print shirts and the flip-flops and the sun hats and stuff. It's... Okay. At this point, I should probably just start collecting the birch from that part. So I can move it forward. Kindleless comments that he suspects that Asimov wrote Harry Seldon that way in this prequel because readers were taking the concept of psychohistory too seriously IRL, and that he didn't want to be L. Ron Hubbarded into accidentally creating a religion. Or I think L. Ron Hubbard... Well, or I'm kind of summarizing here. He didn't want to create a religion, basically. I'm not sure how much of that's hypothesis and how much of that's statement of Asimov's, but that doesn't sound unlikely. Because I was reading it and I was thinking, like, is this just him, like, messing with his editors? Like, did they tell him you gotta write another one of those foundation books, Isaac? Isaac, you don't write another one of these foundation books, you're not gonna get a check this year. We got a big check for you right here. And he's like, you want a foundation book? I'll give you a foundation book. Come here. And then he wrote this, and it's, but like it does kind of feel like he's making fun of people who like foundation books when I'm reading it. So that wouldn't surprise me if it was meant to deflate the Seldon myth. And yeah. But I don't know if he would be able to say that publicly if he was actively like trying to make the guy seem like a dumb, but like it's inescapable as a conclusion. Kindle says deconstructing the mystique of psychohistory was appealing to Asimov because of the mystique around Hubbard's nonsense and stuff like Atlas Shrugged being taken way too seriously. I could see that making sense, but I don't. What I'm saying is, though, like, that's a very strong hypothesis and a very strong argument that's logical and it fits with my understanding of the world and the time, but that's not sourced. Like, is this something he said in an interview somewhere, or he wrote in an essay, or is this just your personal, like, gut? Because I don't think you're necessarily far off, but I'm curious how much of this is you and how much of this is Asimov. Kindle says it was in an interview I read ages ago. Okay. So, yeah, that's something that we could try to dig up if we care strongly about it. Yeah, the books are super dated. And they're dated in that awkward way where, like, even when he's trying to be, like, progressive, it's, like, still, like, so backwards that it ends up, like, kind of, like, aging even worse somehow. Like, there's some good sci-fi concepts in there, but it's very dated material. And you should definitely, you know, determine your own level of comfort with that up front. Like, I mean, I studied American history in college, and so that's kind of something that, like, I expect that a lot of the things I read are not going to make me more comfortable. I don't necessarily read for comfort. But, yeah, you can... Yeah. Nola says, I often wonder about the ways we in the present day will be perceived by the future as we too try to be progressive. I think it was Reza Aslan in his Reza Aslan in his book. Reza Aslan has an interesting book about the Prophet Muhammad. I think it was called No God But God. And basically the thesis of Reza Aslan's book, or part of the book, was basically that Muhammad was trying to revolutionize like women's rights in his time period and community, and he was terrified that as soon as he died, that would be the first thing that everybody regressed on. And so he basically said, like, the exact way that this stuff is written is exactly how it's meant to be interpreted. You can't go back on it. You can't change it. Because he was worried that it would go back to the way it was when he had been trying to be very progressive. However, then the rest of the world moved forward, but the same safeguards he put in place were never designed to ratchet forward either. And so he ends up looking particularly backwards. And I don't have the familiarity with the Quran or the cultures of the Middle East from that time period to personally vouch for Reza Aslan's assessment. But I found it a very interesting argument. And it does help me. It was an interesting lens through which to view certain problems with the sexism in the modern Arab world and Saudi Arabia and things like that. But yeah, I cannot personally vouch or verify for Reza Aslan's argument, But it's that sort of thing though, is sometimes like when a science fiction author is like, look, I'm trying to show this super progressive world, and then like, but you read it now and you're just like, oh, this is the worst. This is so cringe because the guy's trying to be progressive, but like just he can't actually imagine a world with more equality than he's trying to imagine an equality he can't conceive of. And like his guesses about how it would play out are so drastically different from how like things went after the sexual revolution in the American 1960s and all this like yeah. We're talking about books aging poorly. Have I read anything by Octavia Butler? Did she write the that book with the tectonics? What's that? Oh gosh. I think it was a trilogy about I can't remember. Her name sounds really familiar. I might have read a short story collection by her. No, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. No, she didn't write the book about the tectonic stuff, but I have read short stories by her. A lot of people are saying that that they have enjoyed her book Kindred in particular. And then Sapphire Smith says, I feel like the Wizard of Oz books are pretty progressive to this day. Their society functions without currency and the jail is therapy. Ferretary says she basically frontiered the Afrofuturism genre. Oh, that's fair. I knew that much, but yeah. Okay. So, where was I? I'm trying to place blocks here. Joshua Hart writes, the machine's looking good. Thank you, Joshua Hart. Yeah, oh, there's a really good book on the history of Afrofuturism. Oh, gosh. It's got a great chapter on Deep Space Nine, and I follow the author on Twitter. What is the... He has a chapter on Deep Space Nine, but he has a chapter before that on, like, a bunch of science fiction authors who were writing before that. But, like, the chapter on Deep Space Nine was why I picked up the book. Oh, gosh. I'm the worst at, like, trying to... Like, somebody will be like, oh, hey, who's the lead singer in that band you like? I'm like, oh, gosh. Unless the name of the band is something like Ben Folds 5, I'm just going to sit there and be like, well, it's not Maynard Keenan, because he's a drummer. And then people will be like, Maynard Keenan isn't a drummer, Joe. And I'll be like, okay. I don't know. Like, I just completely blank on names. You know what? I've got this in my Apple Books account. I'll just pull up my Apple Books library and flip through that. That's faster than trying to Google it or, like, go through everybody I follow on Twitter. Books. And this is when we learn that I have a lot of books. I'm like, oh, but it's one of the earlier books I got on here. So it should be toward the bottom. Or did I buy it on a different service? Dang it. I remember reading it on a plane. I bought it. I bought the ebook so I could read it on a plane. years ago. Maybe I bought it on the Kindle app. Oh, yeah. Andre M. Carrington. He wrote a great exploration of the history of Afrofuturism called Speculative Blackness: The Future of Race in Science Fiction. It's through University of Minnesota Press, it looks like. So I can link to their website. Yeah. Strawman says, I recently read Flatland. It's dated in a really weird way. It was partly a social satire, but when it tries to be progressive, it's still progressive in the 1880s. However, that mirrors the main theme of being unable to perceive higher dimensions or beyond the bounds of your own existence. So it's somehow aged well? Yeah, no, Flatland is good. I read Flatland back when I was in college. MK Design says, Joe, I just watched a clip of your cub idea and I'm scared, but I'm too viscerally. Yeah. Okay, Kindleist has found an interview that he has linked where Asimov talks about realizing that psychohistory wouldn't work on its own as a tool for a better universe, and you really need the different factions like the Second Foundation and Gaia and other active players trying to shape the galaxy for the better. Welcome, Chloe the Great and Powerful. And thank you, Kindleist, for digging that up. Because, yeah, that's the sort of thing. It was very compelling speculation if it was pure speculation, but if, having something to back that's great. Yeah. Oh, no. Andre M. Carrington is no longer on Twitter. I wonder if he's on Blue Sky. When we're on Mastodon. I guess I just haven't seen him say much for a while since he's not on Twitter anymore, but... Dun, 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 dun. Bum, 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 dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, Matt, I've been to Nashville occasionally. Jocelyn says the theme of your pinball machine reminds me of that one Magic School Bus episode where they learned about visible light inside of a pinball machine. Yeah, I didn't make that connection when I was theming it because I was approaching it from the space standpoint, but then I realized I accidentally was building something that is a broader electromagnetic spectrum here. So, yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Super Lexan Brother says, what are you doing? I'm streaming! I'm playing a video game. Video. Game. Click, click, click. Clack, clack, clack. I'm like a train coming down the tracks. Choo, choo! Who? You? No, me! Joe Hills. I'm a train. Choo, choo! You can tell by all the intense training I do. That's how I get these arms. Just kidding. I don't do any training. That's just from sliding pinball machines around. It looks more impressive than it is because, like, I didn't set up the lighting here to make my arms look good, but it's every time I see them on camera, I'm just like, that is the most deceptive thing. Good evening, Hidoriki Batasai. Pug the Master says, I actually work on a railroad, and that's exactly what trains sound like. 10 of 10. Thank you, Pug the Master. That's full marks! Not complete space communism, but still full marks nonetheless. So here we go, we're placing planks and saying thanks to everyone for having fun with us. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want to freak out the guy who's already freaked out by that song, just as a reminder, the camera gets bigger when we hit certain tipping milestones. We are $10 away from the next face camera expansion milestone, and tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Let me just do a quick hard refresh of PayPal to make sure we haven't missed any tips so far. Sometimes those alerts don't come through right away, but we are an hour into the stream, so maybe I missed them. Sorry if so. Here we go. Waiting for that to log in. Screechin' Newt writes, I am literally on a train right now, and I can second that. Chloe the Great and Powerful tips 14 and writes, get bigger. Boom! Let's get bigger. There's that 14, so here we go. It's time to expound. I've been playing the Kiss Pinball Machine a lot. And Joe, do. So thank you very much, Chloe the Great and Powerful, for getting us now only 16 away from our next Face Gamer expansion milestone and the entrance of the Joust. Thank you, Chloe the Great and Powerful. Okay. Yeah, I have been playing a lot of the Kiss Pinball Machine. Yeah, so we're gonna have to push this back a little bit, but not too much. We'll make this work. It's gonna be fine. Yeah, this is gonna fix a lot of things. This might seem like we're wasting time here, but this is actually gonna solve a lot of problems later. Once the Elytra course opens, if we didn't fix this now, we would have a lot of people really like, Joe, why would you design that like that, mate? You're a plonker. Some sort of drunger. I don't need that. Don't make fun of me like I'm an Australian, or you're an Australian. Either way, it's not really appropriate. I am wearing my new crown. Thank you for noticing, Superstone. Jump scared by Aussie Joe. Ah, yes, I was so authentic. Ferret Terrier, no, that was not my Pearl impression. That was my impression of another hermit trying to be Australian. But that you probably wouldn't be able to guess which one. It wasn't a very good impression at all. Oh, wait, we need more birch, which we can grab from just chopping this. Good luck, Superstone. Have fun. I thought plonker was an Australian word, and but yeah, now that you're right, that is something Stress says. I was not trying to do a stress impression, but you're right. Stress does say plonker. Huh. Show offers quality impressions of every hermit. Oh yeah, like my Austrian Cub fan the other day. That was in today's video. I had forgotten. So the thing is, a lot of times by the time I edit these videos, I forgot the dumb stuff I did. And that's helpful because it kind of lets me see it with fresh eyes of like, is this actually funny or did I just think this was funny at the time, you know? But like, I'll get to some of these impressions and I'll just be like, okay, that's pretty funny. That's not what Cub fan sounds like at all. Like, that's the joke.jpg. Only the toppest of notches for the impressions here, Pineapple. I missed it. I almost stuck that landing perfectly, and then I... Oh, how do I keep botching this? It's fine. Everybody's fine. How are you? Okay, let's do it. There we go. Yeah. This is gonna save so much trouble down the line. We are gonna do proper galloping blocks though. Because I saw how long this took the first time. I learned something. Not video settings, controls, keybinds, use item, replace block. I think I used Q for that. I don't have a block out. Bum bum ba dun 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 dun. Oh wait, we were gonna run along. We need to run along the center of this and towards it. Hey, Michael Oliver, thank you very much for the 5, who says it's been nearly a year since I've been able to watch a Joe Hill stream. Trademark. Glad to finally have those back in my routine. Yeah. Hey, glad you could make it. That's going to get us 11 away from the next face camera expansion. Normally, I would link the tipping link here, but let me show you something that I've been working on here, Michael Oliver. It's called joehills.net/soon. That's the upcoming stream calendar. So getting the streams back in your routine is easier than ever if that's a priority for you, because you know, uh, we wanted to make sure that folks had the opportunity to watch the show, even as with my daughter going back to school and different activities at night and stuff. Like, I'm realizing my schedule is going to be less reliable. Oh, I actually need to mention to y'all. So for the last few months, I've done no Thursday night streams because I was always hanging out with my friends on Thursday. But since the car got messed up, some of our, basically, half of our Thursday night stuff we're not going to do anymore. We're going to consolidate that a little bit because I was the driver. So we're only going to be hanging out on Thursdays 2 weeks a month now, which means that means the other Thursdays I'm going to be available to stream. And we were talking, people were like, Joe, you should do occasional streams on Twitch. So on the Thursdays where I'm not hanging out with my friends, Roselia Moon says, I missed it. What happened to the car? Okay, so you know how when you buy a car, Roselia, it comes with a bumper, right? So this is the bumper of the car. I got rear-ended at like 70 miles an hour, and we had to remove the bumper so that I could drive off. Luckily no one was hurt, but yeah, it was like a whole thing. But yeah, we had to remove the bumper because it got like folded under the car. And I had to remove 2 Allen bolts to get the bumper off. And my dad was like, that bumper has like 10 mount points. Why did you only have to remove 2 Allen bolts? I'm like, because all the other mount points were torn off. And then this, But anyway, so we just got a tip rolling in from Hart. Thank you, Hart, for 11. That's going to get us evenly to our next face camera expansion milestone. Y'all have seen that money go straight to my head with each face camera expansion milestone we hit. But now, like Jacob Marley, these chains I forged in life are about to begin pulling me down to the deep below. Enter the joust. Bum, 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 bum. Lowering the opacity now to 90%. And so here we go. That we are now 20 even away from the next face camera expansion milestone. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/Joe Hills and YouTube Super Chat. Okay. Jill Jackson says, I've purchased a new bumper before, and it arrived in the biggest box I've ever seen. Yeah. Kindle says, agree, bumper boxes are not small. They have a surprising amount of packaging, so they don't get bumped in transit, I guess. I think they're kind of like bike helmets. Like, if they get hit once, they don't... Joshua Hart says, get a new bumper. Well, the thing is, the entire frame of the car compacted, too. And, like, if the frame of the car compacts, like, 3 inches in the trunk alone... and then the doors don't close properly anymore. Even if you can technically drive home from the site of the accident, you shouldn't necessarily be driving around more than that. And Alex the Ghost, I'm going to be streaming on Twitch a few Thursdays a month, which is why you can check out the joehills.net/soon for the calendar. Thank you, Matt Ahrens, for the 10, who says $1 short, but not a day late. Well, thank you. Let me post that link again to joehills.net/soon. And it'll say in the description of each stream, almost everything's on YouTube except for the Thursday night overflow stream. So, new stream calendar. Stream calendar. Ooh. And I'm going to pin that. So anybody who wants to can find that. But yeah, so I'm gonna go back to streaming on Twitch a couple times a month. So, okay, we need to go get some more blocks. And of course, I'm having trouble because, like, Ferret Terrier says, is there a reason for doing it that way? Like, getting the blocks after I ran out? Well, because I only had so much space. So sometimes with streaming, because there's a delay, antecedents are hard. I'm sure that whatever you're asking made sense to you, but if you're gonna write something with like a pronoun like it or that, like, I will not mind if you're a little bit extra verbose. Is there a reason for doing it that way? I have no idea. No idea. Dang it. I'm trying to nail this. It's a hard thing to get right. Hold on. There it is. I could tell by feel that I was going to get it. Is there a reason for packaging bumpers like bike helmets? Is there a reason to stream to Twitch on Thursdays? So the thing is, because I'm not streaming to Twitch every week anyway, I was thinking, like, if I'm going to have a stream that I only do, like, 2 or 3 times a month, and I'm possibly going to be, like, variety streaming, like, oh, I'll play some Tears of the Kingdom, or some Peglin, or Dwarf Fortress, like, if that's going to be kind of my weird stream regardless, it kind of made sense for that also to be the one that's on the weird service. Oh no, I have ran out of that stack. I was like, this is great. I can, like, use my other hand for things like picking up my drink or refreshing the phone to see if the PayPal tips are coming in and stuff. But it's like... Matt RN says, I guess I was a gift late for the joke. I thought the joke was actually funnier coming in late. I thought it was funnier, Matt. Don't worry. If you were trying to be amusing, you succeeded. If you were trying to give me money, you succeeded. You've succeeded in 2 ways. I am very pleased, and I hope you are too. Okay, so we're going to burn through what's left in our offhand. These stacks will go quick. Probably not even worth doing, but let's just burn through them. Oh, we actually did make it to the other end. What do you know? Okay, so let's go options. Well, no, we can fly up here real quick. Fill the hot bar. And we strafe over. Perfect. Yay. So much faster. I might need to move a beacon over here for this, to remove this last bit, but I don't want to do that right now. And technically I don't have to, because I can build a temporary wall that'll conceal the stuff behind it. I can wipe this stuff out later. I just need to get the new bits in so that I can plan accordingly. Oh, we're already at the... Okay, we're down to the 2s. Bum, bum, $9:52. So we got about 40 minutes left in the stream. This is a school night, and I'm trying to wrap up the streams earlier now that I've got to wake up. I've tried to keep a pretty good schedule over the course of the summer. But, like, when I only was waking up for the 8:30 stream and not waking up to get my kid ready to school, take her to school, return from the school, and then do an 8:30 stream, I could wake up a little bit closer to 8:30. In fact, some days I would wake up at 8:15, just be like, roll out of bed, stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, it was, so I'm definitely having to wake up a little bit earlier, even though it's not massively earlier. Like, bum bum bum. Tumble out of bed and stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition, yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower, the blood starts pumping, out in the street, the traffic starts jumping. Folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Barely getting by, it's all taken and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5 for service and devotion. You would think that I would deserve a promotion, want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that man is out to get me. Yeah, for some reason, like, trying to walk backwards and do this, I keep, like, stepping off, and then it's like such a narrow gap. I keep ending up on the wrong side of it. Oh, and we're here anyway. Next problem. Okay. So then I guess the next question is, do we move a beacon here to be in range, or do we just fly in and out of range? How close are we to the beacon range? We're real close. We're real close, Cap. I can fall faster than I can actually mine that out, apparently, and have my beacon die. The Dolly Parton pinball machine is one of my favorites. They've got it at District 82, and I did great at it, which was good because I was wearing a Dolly Parton hat at the time. And so, like, people are like, wow, you really seem to know this game. And I'm like, well, it would be embarrassing if I didn't. My hat says Dollywood on it. But no, I just objectively do like it. It's a great game. Have I ever been to Memphis? I'm going in a couple weeks. I don't get out that way particularly often. I used to date someone from Memphis back in college, and so I was going there a lot back then. And then when the relationship ended, it was just kind of like, there's nothing for me here. But that was where I got to see Billy Joel's Moving Out at the Orpheum. I do have some good memories of the city. And I've been invited to apply as a guest to a convention out there. So I'm looking into that for next year. The deadline isn't until November. So if NJ is watching, don't panic, NJ. I've got till November to put in my application. But I was talking to another guy who guests there a lot and does tabletop role-playing game stuff. And there's a few things that I would be a good fit on for panels and stuff. But yeah, the event itself isn't until next year, so that would mean the TCG cards would definitely be in people's hands no matter what. Do some games. Maybe add a beacon. I don't. Like, the thing is, I'm not going to add the beacon tonight, I'll tell you that. But, like, if I can get by without adding the beacon, I could do this tonight. But, like, the problem is I don't have enough iron or anything. Whoops. Yeah, this is a bad system. I should stop doing this. The problem is, even if I put one beacon in the middle, it's not going to reach both sides, so I'm still going to be flying in from the middle no matter what I do. Like, at a certain point, I just need to accept that there's going to be some flying in and out of beacon range here. Technologic says, any info on your fall trip to Canada that has been solidified, such as a fan meetup? That's a work in progress. So there's a question mark about how many of my friends and family could join us, and then we could save money by, like, renting an Airbnb and splitting it a bunch of ways. Because I don't consider it acceptable to not see my fiance when my kid is on break. And the immigration process is making it very challenging, but we're trying to do this as frugally as possible. We picked Toronto because it's literally the cheapest city both of us could fly to. If I flew to London that week, it would have been $2,200 round trip. It's significantly cheaper for both of us to fly to Toronto. Like, ludicrously cheaper. And my fiance is not allowed to fly to the United States during the immigration process at all. So, yeah, so right now we're still trying to hammer down details of the trip because we were trying to cast a wide net with friends and family of people to come hang out there at the time, because it's also good for my fiance to get to hang out with my friends and family. But, yeah, so we're finalizing some of that this week, and then I'll kind of know the schedule a little bit better. And then I've got to also figure out, what do you call it? The visa situation. Because I spent a bunch of time reading all this stuff about visas for, like, showing up to work in Canada. And then I got to the bottom of the page, and then they're like, unless, of course, you're part of NAFTA. And I'm like, ah. In which case, there's a totally different problem. I'm like, I just wasted all this time reading this stuff that would be applicable if I was coming from Ecuador, but is not applicable because I'm coming from a NAFTA country. In theory, the NAFTA version's easier, but I got really stressed out because I was like, I just spent all this time reading about this. So, yeah. So, I kind of got discouraged there. I need to pick that back up once we solidify everything else. But, basically, the thing is, Canada is really big on, they have very welcoming borders, but if you mess with them, you'll never be welcome back again. So, if I go and I'm purely a tourist, that's fine. But if I go as a tourist and then have a meetup, they could straight up just never allow me back in. And Beef wants me to come back for some stuff that we're hoping to plan for later. So in some ways, me figuring out this visa stuff is like a practice run for maybe some stuff some of the hermits do in Canada later in 2024, right? So I need to figure this out. And I need to figure out how to do it right. Because if I don't do it right now, I won't have the option of doing it right later. So, yeah, I would very much like, even if this visit we don't do a fan meetup, future visits will be explicitly scheduled for that purpose, is kind of where we're at. Bah! Spider. Bye. Alex says it's nice to live in Nashville. I live in Memphis. Yeah, I like Nashville. Kindle says, as long as you don't have things to sell or give away or charging for the meetup, you'll be okay. I'd really rather do it right. Like I said, the stakes, I want to make a good first impression on the Canadian government here. Like, if I have to skip some really cool HermitCraft stuff later this year, the seller giveaway thing is important. Well, that's the other thing, is I want to be able to, like, give stuff away. I want to be able to be like, oh, I've got these pogs or whatever, right? Like, I'm planning on commissioning things to give away to people who come to meetups in the future. And I'd rather do it right. I need to learn how to do it right anyway. So I should just do it right this time and then be allowed to sell or give away things, right? Like, have a good night, Screeching Newt. Have a good night, Bagel. Someone says this is still a thing. No, it's actually not. You're vividly hallucinating. You're completely wrapped up in your blankets. They're all twisted and constraining your blood flow to your hands and feet. Your body is responding in a panic. And for some reason, this is what you're seeing. Even though it's not a thing. Not still. It's weird. Bum, 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 bum. Feels like we're making very slow progress. But not slow enough that it's worth, like, going and smelting a bunch of iron. Ferretary says, I had a dream about a Joe Hills meetup before, and it was very strange. I will say the meetups are pretty casual. Like, if we're somewhere that has, like, food and drinks, I'll usually encourage people to buy some foods and drinks so we don't get kicked out for loitering. So it's like, have you ever gone somewhere that had food and drink before and then purchased some? That's like half of it right there. I'm like, you know, I talked to somebody who worked here and they said we were okay to do this, but I didn't actually talk to the owner or management. Like, they have an events coordinator, but they didn't get back to me. So we're kind of just like doing this. You know, I wonder if my immigration lawyer does anything with Canadian visas, like for getting into Canada. Because we've already got an immigration lawyer, but I think she's a specialist in people coming to the United States. Maybe I need a Canadian lawyer. I'd rather do this myself, though. So much cheaper. Welcome, Robert Lewis Matthews. I'm just making some changes over here. Just little baby tweaks. Baby tweaks, do 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 do. Not to be confused with vanilla tweaks. Do 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 vanilla tweaks. Do 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 vanilla tweaks. Oh, interesting. So I haven't actually cleared out or added into that. Did not work. Worst beacon rejuvenation or Nymph says hopefully you do the Northeast at some point. I'm applying for a panel in Philadelphia in December with beef. So that's a possibility. We're gonna try and do a panel at PAX Unplugged about the HermitCraft TCG. I think that could be cool. Might see if any other hermits are available too, depending on their schedules. But we're still waiting for PAX Unplugged. Did I say PAX East? I meant PAX Unplugged. We're still waiting for PAX Unplugged to open up their panel applications for this year. We're working on it. We haven't gotten approved for the panel. There's no guarantee that this will happen. But I've been to PAX Unplugged multiple times. Roselia Moon says, have you checked out 90 Day Fiancé? That might be cheaper. Well, we've already paid for our current immigration attorney. So, I mean, we're basically, it's not probably worth it at this point. Besides, who would want to watch me on the telly? Yeah, Mr. Lance and Kindleus both agree in the Discord chat. It couldn't hurt to ask my lawyer anyway. Yeah, I probably should. I'm gonna read these NAFTA rules myself. I just was annoyed that I read the wrong page for like 40 minutes. Moonrosa says, I'm watching Joel's on the telly, isn't it? I know, that was the joke. Nymph says, would you ever do anything at PAX East? I love Boston, but it's so... PAX East is the most expensive PAX. Well, Seattle might be more expensive, but I definitely can't afford Seattle. I used to go to PAX East almost every year, but I got priced out. It, like... PAX Unplugged and PAX South were just so much more affordable. Like, part of the problem was there's not a lot of hotels near the convention center in Boston, or at least there weren't a few years ago. So then you end up taking a lot of lifts, because, like, even if you take the shuttle in the morning from your hotel to the convention, if you're going to after parties and stuff around town, like, Boston's just a very expensive city. Everything's... So there's... Like, at least when the convention center was first built, it was built in the Wharf District, and there wasn't, like, a lot of... Or it might not be called the Wharf District, but it was basically in, like, a warehouse district. So there wasn't a lot of hotels or restaurants or anything there other than the convention center and the convention center hotel. And so then every time somebody's like, oh, we're going to do an after party somewhere, it'd be, like, really far away and hard to get to. Michael Oliver tips 2 and says, I live in Boston. Everything costs too much here. Yeah. Yeah. But we did do a meetup in Salem last October, so it's not like we never come to the Northeast, but, like, it's much cheaper to do a... Just to give you a sense of, it's easier and cheaper to do a meetup in Salem in October than it is to do something in Boston any time of the year. Like, yeah. But yeah, we did a meetup at Bit Bar in Salem. It was very fun. Technologic says the witches were using their magic to keep the price down. No, they're not. Salem in October is ludicrously expensive. But still, somehow, cheaper than Boston most of the rest of the year. Yeah, no. Yeah. Salem in October is a lot. McBeegington says there's a really nice retro game store in Salem. I think I went there. If they're the one that also sells comics, I picked up a copy. Well, you know what? Never mind. I'm not going to say what I bought because of struck work stuff, but yeah. I think I've been in there. Welcome back, Superstone. Badger says, I really want to go back to Salem, just not in October. Yeah, exactly. We did it once, but there's other times to go. Technologic says, of course, I missed October being Halloween. Yeah, no problem. It's a little bit of a logical leap. But yeah, no, they're... It's a very busy time. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, we got 15 minutes until the end of the stream. Dang it. How am I so bad at this? I'm like, we're almost... Oh, that's a creeper. That's an actual creeper. I was like, what's that weird block poking out there? Okay, what I should do is probably just remove the top and then go along and remove each of these sides individually. Michael Oliver says, Salem is lovely, but there isn't enough room to enjoy it during spooky season. Exactly. So we actually stayed in a seaside town at the very end of the Salem train line. Badger, what was the name of the town? The little... It was the very far eastern... It was like the train terminal. Like, it was the last stop, end of the line. And, like, it was the off-season there, so we could stay in this nice little seaside motel and have a view of the ocean. I mean, it was too cold to go in the ocean. Rockport. Thank you, Badger. Yeah, so Badger found this great place. We got a great deal, and we could take the train into Salem from there. Because, yeah, staying in Salem in October is not viable from our price standpoint. Parking in Salem, also, like, we drove past, like, the Salem exit on the main road, and there's, like, huge signs, like, of parking at the to park and take the shuttle in, and there was like some, I don't know, was it $25 or $50? Like, so you're not even getting parking in Salem, and they're charging you a ton of money. Like, I was like, no thanks. We'll just enjoy Rockport. Yeah, the train was great. Michael Oliver says, I love Rockport. It's everything you get out of the Cape with half the crowds and half the price. Yeah, exactly. And then you go in October and it's even cheaper. It was great. And there's some places that had some gluten-free options for Badger. Yeah, no, I know that the Cape is Cape Cod. I have some rough understanding and comprehension of Massachusetts. I took naval history, and so everything I knew about the geography of Boston was based on the Revolutionary War era. And so, like, we're walking around, and I'm like, okay, this neighborhood's called the Back Bay, so we should be able to see the bay somewhere from here. And, like, you know, I studied all these naval battles that occurred. It'd be cool to see it. And people are like, no, Joe, this is called the Back Bay neighborhood because they literally filled in the entire Back Bay with dirt. The bay, you're standing where the ships were when they were shooting at each other. And I'm like, what? Boop. Yeah, we also got to visit some places founded by Badger's ancestors. Apparently, a bunch of British people founded a bunch of stuff in America. Who knew? So that's the thing, though, is like usually, like, the way they talk about that stuff, like, the people who founded the stuff stuck around, but, like, in a lot of cases, like, you know, they would hang out for a while and be like, well, we did some pioneering, but now everything's too built up here. So built up here, we might as well just go back to England now that our political opponents are gone or whatever, right? Like, yeah. I feel like I'm low enough that I should be able to just knock this from underneath, right? At this point, yeah, I can knock those from underneath. It's like, why am I bothering with this? Jocelyn says, huzzah, my do-it-yourself butterfly shoes are done. Awesome. Wear them with pride. I've only made my own shoes once, and it was from a kit. When I was at camp one year. I saw in the camp store they had, like, make-your-own leather moccasins. And, like, the leather had, like, pre-punched holes in it. And it came with, like, leather cord, and you would, like, basically cord the whole shoes together. So they weren't really great for walking around on hard surfaces. But, like, you know, just for walking on, like, dirt trails, it's fine. Gravel trails, no. Don't do that. You don't want to wear just straight leather shoes on a dirt trail. No. Bad. On a gravel trail, that's going to be some probs. Jocelyn, well, it's cool that you were able to save some money by making them yourself. Okay. Knocking this out. Matt Limbago says, Happy Monday, Joe. Just watched the new episode. Great job. Well, thank you very much, Matt Limbago. Yeah, I'm really happy with how that one turned out. That one was a lot of fun to make. And is really gonna... It sets the scene for the rest of the season. Because we're gonna be moving into building out the real playfield soon. We're still gonna have a lot of artwork to do on the machine, but, like, it's okay. Did I do an actual last call for tips? I don't think I did. We're going to wrap up the stream at the half hour or so, because today is a school night. Gotta get my kid for school in the morning. Woo! So I gotta wake up earlier than I have to. Even though my stream still started at 8:30 a.m., the amount of stuff I have to do before the stream is much more intense during the school year. So not staying up late. Let's see, what do I need to do? I need to go make sure the dryer is actually dry. I already ran the dishwasher and cleaned the kitchen. Oh, I need to knock out a few more administrative things, like getting the pinball series scores in. That's not hard. I can do that while I wind down. Usually I have to have in order to stay awake enough to put on a good show, I have to have enough caffeine that I won't fall asleep right when the stream ends. I tried timing my caffeine so I could fall asleep as soon as the stream ends, and people were like, Joe, I hate this. You look so tired. It just makes me depressed. And I'm like, but I'm so much healthier now. I'm getting an extra hour of sleep a night. And they're like, but I don't want to watch it. So I'm like, okay, great. Learned something there. Duly noted. Bum, 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 bum. Dun, 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 dun. It's probably better for my long-term sanity to have an extra hour to wind down anyway. But Queen Dark Laser, did people actually say that? Oh, yeah. No, because the thing is, they said, Joe, you seem so much less healthy. And I'm like, no, I'm actually doing the healthier thing. Like, I'm getting more sleep. I'm taking better care of myself. And they're like, no. Ferretaria says, who said that? Somebody who's not here anymore. I'll tell you that. I could give you a name, but some of the people here still know them. But, like, they weren't the only person expressing that. Other people were backing them. They're just like, the show isn't good if you're tired. So, I get it. That's one of the reasons, though, that I don't do as many nighttime streams anymore. Because even though some nights the pinball tournaments run later, so, like, my Pathfinder game almost always ends at 10. And then the pinball tournaments, I can often get to bed by 10:30. So I get a few nights of early sleep a week, at least. Moonrose says, you don't have to stress about it. Everybody who's tipping is doing so you can enjoy the stream guilt-free. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, this is coming together. Getting all this fixed. Honestly, the glass being back here isn't maybe quite as obvious even from up there. And also, we're going to be putting in a wall here behind this, so it's not like a big thing. Yo, yeah, that looks right. That's where it should be. I knew the original one was too short. And then the other one, technically the right depth, but because we're not leaning the machine forward, it wasn't like 6 blocks forward, so we need to pull this. Ferretaria says, any reason the stream can't be shifted earlier so you still get enough sleep? Well, because I want to do the stream when my daughter's in bed, so I don't miss time spending with her. That's also why I stream when she's at school most of the time. I occasionally stream after school or on weekends during the time she's awake, but it's not my first choice. Dun, 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 dee, 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 dee. So, yeah, this is about where it should be here. So, anyway, we are coming up on the half hour. Bye-bye. Probably want to put some torches on the back side of this for now. But yeah, moving the streams to end at 10:30 on school nights was good enough. Like, because the thing is, if it wasn't a school night, I would be up drastically later. Ferretaria says, what'll you do when she gets older and stays up later, though? Well, I mean, by that point, my fiance might be living here, too, and we might be married and want to do stuff out at night more often. So, probably do more daytime streams. But, you know, like, also, when my daughter's older, she can get herself to school, right? Like, right now, I have to get her to school because she's, you know, a wee child. But as she gets older, that's less of a need, right? Ryan says, how do you prevent yourself from getting burnt out here? Because I never get to spend enough time on here. Like, if your entire life is playing Minecraft, you're going to get burnt out on it. I get burnt out on, like, all the other parts of my life. This is the fun part of my day. How do I prevent myself from getting burnt out on all that other stuff? Well, this is one of the steps, but a big part of it is just, like, trying to say no to things. Mr. Lance says, has a hypothetical conversation. Daughter, it's time for bed. But it's only 6 p.m. But the fans want an earlier stream, so I get to bed early. You go to bed and make up the time, too. Yeah, that's not going to go. But yeah. So, like, Ryan, the thing is, most of the time I've been on HermitCraft, I've been, like, primary caregiver for a child, or the only caregiver for a child. And so, like, my life is full of other stuff. And while I'm doing that other stuff, I'm like, man, I can't wait to play Minecraft later. That's going to be fun. You know? But, like, yeah, if you play Minecraft for 8 hours a day, you're going to be like, I should be doing anything else. Dun 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 dun. Do 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 do. Dun dun dun. Dee 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 dee. What day is today? It's the 21st. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So let's see here. Do 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 do. Oh boy. Why is this not working? Oh, that'll be it. So we're gonna fix our tools and then we're gonna wrap up the stream. It's not a hard stop at 10:30. It's around 10:30. Ryan says, I'm trying to watch all the Hermit's perspectives, and I just caught up on Beef's. Oh, awesome. Yeah, Beef is great. Let's also swap to the other elytra here. Beef has done so much for the server this season. I'm really appreciative of him. Oh, boy. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. So, yeah, we're going to finish fixing the pickaxe and the axe. And then be on our way. Yeah, Ryan says, I can't wait to see your journey since day one. Well, I mean, you might, I don't necessarily hope you don't mean this season or sorry, I hope you don't mean like all of HermitCraft. Because, yeah, I joined in week 5 of season 1 over 10 years ago. But honestly, if you do want to go watch all that, it's actually pretty good. When I go back and watch my old videos, I'm like, boy, I had a lot more energy before my daughter was born. Like, yeah, even the early stuff, like, like, I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but, like, there's a reason I got invited to HermitCraft. Like, that early stuff was already pretty good. But no, if you like high definition video, yeah, start with this season or like recent seasons. You don't have to go back and watch all 10 years of HermitCraft for it to make sense. We try to, you know, avoid referencing too much stuff from outside the current season at any given time. Superstone says some people start very big projects and feel bad when they no longer want to finish them. Well, the thing is, if you start a project like, for example, I couldn't do a project like iBuy because I don't find skyscrapers that, like, researchable. It's not like how interesting is something, it's how much time can I spend, like, fractally learning about every part of it, right? And so with this pinball machine thing, it's an excuse to spend time reading and learning about stuff that I want to learn and read about anyway. Right, it's a chance, it's an excuse to open up real pinball machines and take pictures and do measurements and compare things between machines and like, so like that's the other thing is like I build stuff that I find interesting anyway, and so you know it's just me indulging myself as a treat. Like I don't have a mega project as a grind, I have a mega project as a treat, and I don't know why these chunks weren't loading, but anyway. Looks like that was it for the tips for tonight, so we can probably wrap up now. Thank y'all so much for joining us and hanging out, palling around. Like I said, it might seem silly to make a tweak like this, but when the Elytra course part of this comes in, this is just going to be so much better. We're setting ourselves up for success. If you haven't seen the episode yet, let me go ahead and link that now since we can't really properly raid someone else anyway. The new episode I just put out, episode 69, is right here. Episode 69 live now. So anyway, until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.